So I just got back from the bush and from making today's video, guys, and I wanted to show you what book I'm currently reading, okay? So this is in no way promoting. I have nothing to do with, I'm just showing you what I'm reading, guys. The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire by Deepak Chopra, okay? So this isn't a spur-of-the-moment thing, this video that I just made. This is something that's been brewing in Gary for 10 years, and today I want to talk about it. So what I want to talk about today on the channel, guys, is a little bit different. This isn't a Bigfoot movie. I am out collecting trail cameras that we have set out, so we will upload another video later today with any captures we get on there, okay? What I want to talk about on today's video is spirituality and the opening of the mind, I guess. And we've kind of seen that change a little bit on my channel in the last year, where we've started touching on some paranormal stuff with the EVP voice apps and whatnot, seeing, are we getting anything? And there's a whole host of things that I, 4 or 5 years ago, would never have thought this guy would be doing on a channel. But the more I think about it and the more we touch on the paranormal series we do, I'm super interested in it, and I'm going to tell you guys why. So I myself have actually had dreams where I've talked to dead people that I know, family members or friends, and some of these dreams, only about 5 of them in my entire life, but they are so vivid and so real, tangible. A friend of mine, my best friend, died when he was 21 in a trucking accident. And I dreamt one night, and he answered questions, and he told me my purpose. He told me my purpose, and I remembered it, because I have sometimes lucid dreams where I guess my soul is searching, what is our purpose? What are we here for? And he told me what it was, and that was just to learn, enjoy, and love, basically. Not a good enough answer for me, because I'm still searching, even though he told me that. And the point being that in the lucid dream, I could actually smell cigarette smoke, because we used to smoke when we were, in our 20s. And yeah, so I could, I could hear his voice. I could see the colors. Things were more vibrant and real. And people talk about these things when they have NDEs. Well, I've had dreams like that. And another one was my grandmother. The same thing. And I asked her the same question. She was on a paddle boat. We were going down, I think it was the Mississippi River. And she said, "You already know, dear. You already know the secret of life." And it was basically the same answer. Happiness, but then she added strawberry ice cream, because then she ordered a strawberry ice cream on this paddle boat. I can't explain it, but it was so real. I could hear the waves. I could, you could smell the water, just crazy. Super interested in stuff like that, guys. Are these just dreams that I have? Are they more than dreams? I haven't been told things in dreams that I can verify and say, well, hey, I know that I really had that conversation, but I honestly feel that I really had that conversation, and I got answers, and I was there. I was lucid. I wasn't dreaming somewhere. It was a place, a real place. So what I'm trying to tell you guys I guess I'm letting my guard down here. I had another one of these dreams last night, and I've had 2 of these dreams where I wasn't speaking to someone who was dead, but I was the all-knowing, all-seeing entity in the universe. And I had pieced the universe together, and I knew things, I could see things. I could see math at an unbelievable rate, and I understood it last night. In my dream, I knew how everything worked. And I could see the stars shooting away, little tiny, tiny pinpricks. Like the difference from going from a standard TV in 1980 to a 4K TV now, it was just so clear. I could see everything. I could see how everything worked. I can't explain it. And immediately upon waking up, I started losing the pieces. But I was so surprised that I knew what I knew that I actually woke my wife up and I said, "Hey," and I tried to have a conversation with her, but I was like, I can't remember. It's fading. And she's like, "Go to sleep. Shut up. Go back to sleep," But all I know is that I pieced the universe together, and I did it with a Lego set, number 37. It had the one missing piece that the universe needed to be held together. And this guy right here. Yeah. You can thank me for waking up this morning, because that was my doing. I think what Gary is experiencing here since about 10 years, I'm going to say, in my mid-30s. I've mentioned it on the channel before. I went through a very dark period, very deep depression that lasted over a year. And I don't mind talking about it, because you know what? We're all going to hit that wall at some point. And I think the root of, for me, what the issue is, and I'm still struggling with it to this day, is what is my ultimate purpose? What is Gary's purpose? There has to be more than going to a 9-to-5 job, working a 50-hour week, and doing mundane, trivial things for a company. And, you know, yeah, the company has goals, and the company has whatever, but what is my ultimate purpose? And I have never been a guy to spend, or want to spend, a career 30 or 40 years of my life bettering a company. I kind of just see a bigger, broader picture, and I struggle with that. So there came a point when I was about 35 where I lost a job, and we were expecting our second child at that exact moment, and it was the day before we had my daughter Kaylee that I lost this job, and I just felt my whole life was falling apart, and I kind of started reassessing, well, you know, what do you do now? And then the real question became not what do you do, but what do you want to do? Because that's when you look at yourself and you realize, I'm just doing a job to do a job, because everyone does that job. Everybody does the 9-to-5 to pay the bills, to da-da-da-da. And it's a very closed-minded thing, but we have been set up from the time we're children to fall into these roles. And especially if you are a good student and a good worker. If you're the top of the class, which I always was, you're praised on having a goal and reaching that goal and being the best, yada, yada, yada. And it just kind of perforates into everything you do. And to break away from that mold, for me, was very hard. And just in the last 8-9 years, I've been expanding my mind with these things that I would never talk about before. Bigfoot, EVPs, spirituality, reincarnation, all of that stuff. I think there's more going on in the world than we realize, and I want to explore all of it. And at the root of that exploration, I want to try to figure out, why am I here? What is the point of Gary being here? So I am a scientist, guys. I do have a BSc. I do believe in the physical reality of what we are right now. I think what is changing over time is the acceptance that this isn't all there is. If we believe that this physical realm that we're in is everything, then I guess we just live and die, and that's it. I'm going to tell you guys a secret, what snapped me out of my deep, dark depression, okay? It was always, I guess, a fear of death, a fear of not accomplishing anything real with myself before I died, and then, of course, the usual fears that everyone has of death. But there came a thought to me, and the thought was, it all happened before, why wouldn't it happen again? And in that thought was the reversal of the question, what happens when we die? Because that's the question that we always ask. And my question became, how did we get here? And I don't mean conception. Yes, guys, we all know how, you know, male and female produce offspring. I mean the greater picture of how did we get here? The consciousness that we are, did it just evolve from this production, this marriage of two humans into what we are now? Or were we already something before that? And the older I get, the wiser I get, I have to truly believe that we are a product of something else. And so that question of what happens when we die became irrelevant. It doesn't matter. The real true question is, how did we get here? Where did we come from? And along with this newfound openness of mind, I guess, comes the realization that there is a spirituality. I've always been a spiritual person. When I was a kid, I can say I honestly didn't believe in God. My mother is a very religious person. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. There's a huge difference. We used to have to go to Sunday school, and my brother and I looked at each other one day, and we just got up and said, we're not going back to Sunday school. We looked at each other and said, these stories that they're telling us don't seem like something a God would do. They seem like something a human would do. And we were only 8 or 9 years old, and we realized that these stories they were telling us were not of God, they were of man. And that kind of sealed the deal for my brother and I. Now, he's also a spiritual person and not the most religious. We're not tied to a religion per se. But you talk about this to your own children, and the first question my daughter asked me was, well, if God is real and God made everything, who made God? Right? These are the things that the 44-year-old Gary ponders and tries to figure out. And I just feel that at this point in my life, something's pulling me to investigate these things more. And I think on the channel I might start doing that. I've been doing a lot of reading and research on near-death experiences, reincarnation, stories with kids who know things they shouldn't know, little kids, 3-4-year-old kids that can tell you about different countries and houses and places in those countries that they shouldn't know. That stuff fascinates me. And when I tie all of these things that I'm interested in with all of the things that I find on this channel, okay, EVPs on electronic gear, that blows my mind. I don't understand it. What is it? Okay, there's something real there, something happening. My entire life, I have always talked to deceased loved ones, ever since I was a little kid. Now, I can't honestly remember if I saw deceased loved ones when I was a little kid and I just knew they were there, or is this just something that, I don't know how it came to be, but even right through my whole life, into my 40s, I still talk to my grandparents. I still say a little prayer at night, which is of my own making. It's not anything from a Bible or anything like that, but I send out a communication to the universe. And I just feel that it is heard, and that's just the way it is. My brother is the same, and maybe that is why we have such a deep connection, I think, to these EVP sessions we do. We get answers. I get a lot of you guys commenting and saying, I don't get those answers that you guys get. We don't get the results that you guys get. Maybe that's why. I don't know. I think you have to be open-minded enough. It's like I have a personality that's split down the middle. One half is Gary is rooted in science and the belief of the physical realm we're in. The other half is open-minded enough, and I just know there's more to the spirituality, and there's more to the universe than we can feel and sense and know in these bodies that we have. A few times in my life, I have actually had deja vu so bad, and the incidents stretch from being a kid right into adulthood. There's been about 4 or 5 times where I've stopped doing what I was doing and I'm looking around. I'll give you guys an example. My very first concert I went to, I was 12. I went with my friend Shane. I didn't have a lot of money as a kid. I was dirt poor. He wanted to go to this concert that was going to cost $60. I saved my money all summer to go. So this is not something that, it was a very rare thing for me, right? And so we went to the concert in North Bay. We got into the arena. We were early before the show. And we walked up to the stage, and I actually freaked my friend out. I just stopped and I went, it's a lot different this time. And I have no idea why I said that, but I knew in my head and my being that I was doing something I had done before, but it was different. And I can tell you guys, I had never been to a concert before in my life. I didn't have the money or the means to do that, and I don't know why I said that. I surprised myself. And that is just one example, probably one of the strongest examples where that has happened. And I can't explain it. I'll give you guys one more example of this weird deja vu, which was a very strong sense. It's like you go into a waking dream. A state washes over you. You're kind of there, but you're not. You're realizing things are going on, but you're comparing it to something you don't know what you're comparing it to. This one is even weirder because this deja vu was a projection of the future. I was out on the trails near my house in Lively where I lived, doing photography, and there was a bit of snow on the ground, I believe, and I came to the top of this big pit, and I was looking out over this field below me, 300 yards, 400 yards below me, and I stopped, and my camera just dropped, and it was on a strap, and it hung up my side, and I was like, this isn't right. I don't have the right camera gear. It was the weirdest feeling, and maybe that went on for a minute, up to a minute. I don't know. And finally I left there, and immediately when I got back on the trail, I called my dad and I said, I've just had the weirdest experience. I said, here I am at this place I came to take a picture, and I ended up not taking the picture because something's not right. I don't have the right camera. Again, okay, early 30s, young family, camera gear is very expensive. I had no intentions of buying a new camera or gear. And what happened was there was a strike at one of the mines, and I got called into work a week. And so I went. I had to go because work basically told me, you have no choice, right? We all know how strikes work. You have a choice to cross and pick them up. No, you don't. In all reality, you do what work tells you to do. Anyway, I went. I made a bunch of extra money. And at the same time, this camera came up. And I was not thinking about this deja vu day at all. I ended up buying this camera. 3 or 4 weeks later, I went back to the pit, walking the same trails, and lo and behold, there I am standing there with this new camera, and it clicked. Oh my God. That was why I didn't take the picture when I was here last time. I didn't have this new camera. And it was the strangest, like a wash of relief. Go ahead, you can take the picture now. Can't explain it any other way, guys. There have been a multitude of weird things that have happened in my life. I'm gonna say that they're spiritual things. I don't know. Is that a spiritual thing? Do any of you guys get deja vu like that? I haven't had that in quite a while. I have had something different happen to me in the last few years. It's happened many times, and that is falling asleep on the couch while watching a hockey game and waking up. Now this one's important because I can't verify it, but maybe you guys can. I used to tape a lot of the games, the hockey games. When I'd come home late from work and I would miss the first half of the game or something, I would tape it so I wouldn't miss anything and start playing it, 9, 10 o'clock at night. Sometimes I would fall asleep. And I would wake up on the couch and I knew what had happened in the game before it happened. Oh, Toronto was going to score. It was like I had already heard the video, the commentary, everything, and then it would happen. And I was about 30 seconds ahead. And this happened multiple times. It freaked me out so much that I called my brother and I started telling him about this. But I could never get further ahead than I would never know what was going to happen more than maybe a minute ahead, right? And this would only happen if I was so tired that I fell asleep on the couch, would go into a light dream state or whatever, and then snap out of it, wake up when something happened on the game, and then I would be like, oh, how come the score is only 2-3? And then, within a minute, Toronto would score, and I'm like, I already knew that was going to happen. Again, something I can't explain, but I wonder, is when we're sleeping, does time, I don't know. Do I want to get into that? I don't know. I don't know what I want to get into in this video. I just want to tell you guys there's a lot more to this guy and his thinking and things than I've ever said on the channel before. And I want to know if any of this is worth experimenting with, exploring with. What I want to do, what I want to know, I want to hear from you guys. Do you guys have weird things like deja vu, this sleep thing where you wake up and sometimes you're out of whack, you're out of sync in time. That's the best way I could put it. You're out of sync in time for a little bit. It takes a minute or two for you to come back to this reality. It's the weirdest thing. I am a nut bar. I am, by saying that. By admitting that, I am. But hey, this guy here has been running a YouTube channel that's featuring Bigfoot for the last year. So can we get any wackier? I don't know. But I'm trying to open my mind and expand my mind more. And I don't really care what anyone says or thinks because I know there's more. And one more story before I go. This can be verified by my father and my brother as well. Okay, we want to talk about knowing the future. I went to an OHL game here in North Bay when I was a kid, maybe 12, 13. And people who know OHL from back in the day can tell you, Dennis Bonvie played for the North Bay. It wasn't the battalion then, it was the Centennials, okay? And we used to go to a lot of Centennial games. He was not a scorer, he was a big fighter. We would go to these OHL hockey games and the highlight would be the 5 or 6 or 8 fights that they would have in a night, okay? A single night you could get 6 or 7 fights, okay? And Dennis Bonvie was the scrapper for the North Bay team. And one night we were sitting there and I wanted to go. I didn't feel well. I told my dad, let's just go home. The game was tied. and we were waiting for overtime, and my dad was like, no way, you're kidding me, we're not leaving, overtime is about to happen. And I don't know, again, I don't know why I said this, I don't know where it came from, I just looked at him and said, Dad, we can go, Dennis Bonvie's gonna score 2 minutes in overtime, now you know, let's go, I don't feel good. And that's exactly what I told him, and that is exactly what happened, guys. And my dad literally dropped his popcorn. I remember him like mouth open looking at me like, how the hell did you know that, kid? I can't tell you guys. It's not like somebody told me, said it in my ear. I have no idea how I know that. My brother was there. This can be verified, okay? How did I know that? If this is the reality, the state, the physical being that we are, how would a person know things sometimes, right? It's something that I have not been able to, I can't tie into that now. I can't tell you the future, guys. I can't. I mean, this has only happened to me, a handful of times in my life. It's not something that I know how to do or get in touch with, but I have done it in the past. Now, we haven't even talked about the fact that I am an identical twin. Grant and I are twins, and I can tell you that not only aside from all these other weird things that have happened, in terms of deja vu and knowing things I shouldn't know, my brother and I share a connection that sometimes we would know when we were kids what the other one was thinking before we would even say anything, right? We would be riding on the bus, going home, for example, and all of a sudden he'd be 3 seats in front of me, he'd turn around and look at me, and I knew exactly what we were both thinking. The same thing just popped into our heads out of nowhere. We'd be thinking about that last piece of cake, right? Who's gonna get home and get that cake? And maybe we had been on the bus for 45 minutes. All day had gone by, nobody had thought about that cake, and all of a sudden at the exact same moment we'd look at each other and be like, oh, and the race would be on. We'd never say anything to each other. We'd jump off that bus and run and fight and push each other all the way down the driveway, screaming like banshees to get to the house. And we both knew what we were after without ever saying a word. And that's just one example of thousands, right? We have a connection, my brother and I. We used to, when we were kids, always try practicing, well, what am I thinking? Think of a number, and experiments like that. We haven't done that in 30 years, guys. I might be able to set up some kind of twin experiments here. That, maybe ESP, that might be something we could physically experiment with on this channel. And that just came to me as I'm walking through the bush going, how do I want to expand upon these interesting things I want to look at? Well, maybe we do some twin experiments. Something you guys don't know is my mother is also an identical twin. So we could do some experiments with my mom and my aunt, but not even tell them that they're in the experiment. That would be like a really cool science thing where neither one of them knows they're in an experiment. So I'm just thinking on the fly here, but we could do this, right? We could tell my mom something, tell my aunt something different, We can work with this. We can work with the twin thing. Something else I almost forgot to tell you guys, if we're being transparent here, something I've always done since I was a kid and never knew what it was called or had a name for it, and nobody ever told me, was, I guess, the practice of Reiki. Okay, so how does a little kid, if you don't know what that is, it's the manipulation of energy, right? Sending good thoughts, sending healing thoughts, or sensing that somebody has a sore knee or something, and just discreetly put my hand on their knee and say, you're gonna feel better. Complete weird nut job stuff. Maybe I've said too much, but I have done that since I was a little kid, and I didn't even know what it was called. And even to this day, I have not really read a whole lot about it. I now have a name for it. Obviously, I've heard of what it's called and what it is. I've been doing that since I was a little kid, guys. Does it actually work? I don't know. I've never had the guts to go back to somebody and say, hey, how does your knee feel? But again, this guy does stuff like that. Weird. You know what? I don't care what anyone thinks anymore moving forward. I have to be honest that I am different. So that's going to sound weird, okay? Because Gary always totes, the badge of science, and if we can't see it, we don't believe it. But there's a difference, okay? These things I talk about, including the energy manipulation and stuff that I've always done and don't know why, I just know it's real. I know since I was a kid. That's just a reality to me. I do it. It's not something that I ever questioned or thought I need somebody to teach me or da-da-da. And I'm not saying that it's something I've innately done, okay? And I know it's real because I can't explain it. I can't explain it. God, this video is gonna be thumbs me up, guys. If this video, you know what? If you thumbs it down, that's fine. We can go back to the closed, shut down version of Gary. I don't know. I don't know what to do, because something, maybe in this dream last night where I knew everything and was everything, that's kind of what prompted me to do this video. Was you're not being completely honest with yourself or with others. There are things you want to experiment, there are things you want to do. You know, and then I have questions pop into my head because I don't know how this works. I'm being completely honest and off the fly. I honestly do these things for other people, yet I suffer the worst damn tendonitis and could I fix it myself? I don't know. And would I just be lying to myself if it suddenly got fixed? Would it be a coincidence? I don't know. All I can tell you is for the last 2 weeks, this guy has had the worst tendonitis. Maybe I need to send myself some healing thoughts and move some energy around in my own damn arm. How would I prove that? I couldn't, but I could definitely tell you if it feels better or not. I'm going to try that later. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think below. Is Gary gone off the deep end? Or... I'm just being honest, you know, I haven't gone off the deep end. I have not gone off the deep end. This is as honest as Gary has ever been, and as honest as Gary will ever get. Thumbs me up if you want honest Gary.